Aaron Schembri, welcome to Australian Musician.
Hi, mate. How you going?
I'm very well. You've just released a new album, The Lockdown Sessions. What was the catalyst for recording an mostly acoustic album and mostly covers?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird one. It all sort of fell into place. I basically got a whole album full of original songs that are ready to go, but this point in time is just so uncertain, so it makes it a little bit difficult to, plan. You plan ahead. It's the uncertainty is probably the biggest killer for the industry. So I kind of just looked at it and went, well, I've got all these acoustic covers that I've recorded out at GM Studios, and I thought, well, I'll try and keep relevant during this time and put it out there. So it's sort of how it all came about, really.
Yeah, so how did you go about selecting the songs to go on this album? Because obviously there's a lot of songs you could have put on it.
Yeah, there is. I sort of stuck with ones that were kind of close to home. Because the first one I did was "Who'll Stop the Rain" by Creedence, and I remember Dad taking me to see John Fogerty when I was about 8 years old, and I remember looking at John Fogerty. Every song he'd change guitars. There'd be a Les Paul, and there'd be a cricket bat-looking thing for centre field. And being 8 years old, I watched him up on stage, and I thought, I'd like to give that a crack. I'd like to see if I can do that. And some nearly 20 years later, I'm doing that, which is kind of a special thing. But yeah, there's a whole heap of inspirational songs on there by artists that I absolutely love. Especially songwriting wise, you understand the songwriting a bit more when it's just acoustically, and sometimes it kind of makes sense a bit more as opposed to some of the band stuff that those artists have done. It's you appreciate it a bit more, I think.
Yeah.
I do.
What about the arrangements? Had you been playing these songs in that way for a while?
Yeah, I tend to do most of those songs at gigs, whether it's with the band or solo. The good thing about playing solo is you can kind of take it wherever you want, and you don't have to worry about somebody else trying to catch up and follow along. So I've sort of just developed my own versions of them, I think. Some of them are the same as the records, but yeah, I mean, music is open to interpretation, I think.
Yeah. You cover a Neil Young song. There are many acoustic Neil Young songs you could have done for an acoustic album, but you chose an electric song, "Rockin' the Free World." Why did you choose that one?
I don't know. It's weird. I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and believe it or not, for quite a long time, I couldn't really stand that song. But I come across on YouTube, somebody did a stripped back version of it. And I was like, as I said, before, it had a bit more of a meaning a bit more of a meaning to it. So I thought, okay, it's actually a really good song. I'll try it, And he's a great songwriter, Neil Young. I've delved into some of his other stuff, and it's like, oh, wow.
There are two originals on the album. Why did you want to include those?
Well, I thought, while I'm not doing much, or everybody's kind of not doing much, I thought, with a good list of covers on the album, I thought, well, I'll try and sneak in a couple of my songs. So I'd re-recorded the first single I ever released, which was "Good Enough for You" off the first album. And I had a nice little choir of female singers, and it just brought it to life. And again, it kind of brought out the meaning of it a little bit more, because it was written about my grandfather, who was a musician as well. So he passed away a little bit before the album was released, and it just kind of resonated a lot more with me. It's like a little second wind, I think, of that song. So I'm happy with it. I'm quite happy with that.
It's Not Goodbye, another one of yours, is the only piano track on the album. And you've made a film clip of that that's on YouTube. It's a beautiful piano. What was it?
I believe it was a Steinway, and I recorded that up in Burwood, where I did the first album at Bradshaw Music Productions. And I said, "Oh, I'm gonna, can I have a little go on the piano?" Because piano was my first instrument when I was, 9 or 10 or whatever it was. And he goes, "Yeah, just be careful you don't scratch it." It was like $138,000 piano, and I'm thinking, I'm probably the last person to be touching this, But it came up great. It looked great. The film clip came up sensational, and that was actually how I began writing it on a little electric piano, and then the band version just took its own little life of itself. So it kind of went back to how it was for me.
Yeah, there are two Jackson Browne songs on the album. What do you like about Jackson, and have you ever met him?
Oh, I wish. Don't tell me you have there, Greg.
I've spoken to him.
Oh, you lucky man. It's funny, like when the first lockdown started to, take over, I stumbled across the Pretender album. And like for the first time in my life, I actually honed in on somebody's songwriting. He's kind of one of those artists that sort of takes you on a journey when you're listening to the words more than the music. And then, albums like Running on Empty, that's probably one of the best albums you could find. It's a great album, and he's a great songwriter. He delivers his stories and his messages incredibly. There's no other way to put it. I'd love to see him live. I'd love to talk to him too. Just to pick his brain.
Yeah,
that's what inspires me musically.
These Days is one of the songs of Jackson's that you perform on the album, and you do some great finger picking on the guitar. Where did you learn to finger pick?
The first time I tried to finger pick, probably like every other guitar player, was trying to work out what the hell is going on in Blackbird by the Beatles, with all those chords and that. But what sort of caught me was the way McCartney was incorporating the bass notes along with the melody. So I really tried to study McCartney's finger picking style, and then electric players like Chet Atkins and all those kind of guys. I do love finger picking players. So I try to emulate that.
Yeah.
Try my best.
Are there any other acoustic or unplugged type albums of other artists that you're really a fan of?
Of other artists? There was one that I stumbled across. It was just on Spotify. You know how you can randomly play, songs will come up and suggest songs. There was one group called the Lone Bellows who I've really been interested in. And it's basically 3 vocals, acoustic guitar, and maybe an electric or another acoustic. And I don't know, there's something about acoustic albums where it just takes you on this journey with the songwriting that they've put across, but then again, even some of the Eagle stuff where it's acoustically driven, they're some of my favorite tunes as well,
What was the main acoustic guitar you used to record this album?
I chopped and changed a bit. There was my main acoustic guitar is a Maton 808, which is kind of the workhorse. And I used an old Maton 12-string. I think it's from the early 90s. There's a couple of tracks there that I used on the 12-string. And I think on These Days was a local guitar builder called Rob Miratore had built this acoustic guitar. And it was the first time it got used. And I thought, I'll give it a crack. And it sounds great. It plays great. And I saw the process of that acoustic being made. And then when I finally got to play it, it was kind of surreal, like seeing it come from nothing to something. So yeah, that's a RM guitar. So yeah, it's a nice, good little local builder. Support your locals.
Yeah. What about your 808? Did you just buy that from a shop, or did you get it from the factory?
No, I grabbed that from Scarlett's Music up in Footscray.
Okay.
Yeah, I was after a workhorse acoustic, and that was just the one that sort of sat well with me. I tried the Cole Clarks, you know, but everybody's different. So I kind of stuck with the 808 because it's nice and it's a nice size, you know, when you're standing up and playing it. So it kind of worked for me.
Yeah. How did you record your guitars? How do you usually like to mic them up?
Yeah, I normally, well, Chris, the engineer, likes to record with the mic, you know, not too far from the 12th fret. And I think at one point we did the mic and plugging in as well. I'm not sure which track that was. But yeah, he managed to get a really good acoustic sound, especially because they were live too. It's like, you know, that kind of, it was the kind of the consistency between each track, the way he mixed it, I think. You know, he did all these different little tricks and that sort of thing. So yeah, it came up really good.
Yeah. You a fresh strings kind of guy, or do you like to wear your strings in before you record?
The question should be, are you too lazy to change your strings? I just, you know, if they sound good and they feel good, well, you know, there's no point changing them. It does get to a point where you go, all right, this feels like I'm playing against some blades, so you'll change them. But I think the 12 string had the strings on it for about, I don't know, a year and a half.
Yeah.
You know?
What about guitar straps? Are you fussy about what you sling over your shoulder?
Well, I don't mind those leather ones with the pads, you know, the little padded thing going on in it. But yeah, I'm not too fussy as long as I can chuck it around my neck and play it. There used to be a local strap builder. Actually, I think he's probably still doing them. His name's George, and he done some straps for Phil Manning and a few other guys like Kevin Borridge. So yeah, I reckon I can save up and grab one of those. They look pretty cool. He hand carves the artwork into the actual leather.
Yeah, George
Really...
Rax.
Yes, there you go. Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but
I'm not sure, but he's very good at his work, and it's kind of cool to see.
yeah, he's usually at our Melbourne Guitar Show when we have that on.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the album's called The Lockdown Sessions. What else have you been doing in lockdown? You learned any new skills?
Well, I think I'll learn a new skill in about a couple of weeks because I've just ordered a mandolin. So I'll try my luck with that. But yeah, I just sit around and try to write songs on piano or guitar. You know, before this last lockdown, it kind of felt like everything was going to be okay. And then, you know, everything just got cancelled. So it was kind of like a little reboot mentally, I think, more than anything. So you try to reevaluate what you're doing and how you're doing it. So I'm just trying to keep as occupied as I can, you know, without going insane, like everybody else, you know.
Yeah. You're saying you've got a bunch of new songs or almost a new album to go. Do you feel that if you did release that in lockdown that it might fall between the cracks?
Yeah, I mean, that was my initial thought, and I'll probably stick with that thought because it's like because I work with some of the older guys, you'd release an album and you'd put the songs, you know, to work at gigs and testing them out. You know, that's how you work out which songs work and which songs don't. So I really wanted to I really want to release an album and work them live, you know, because it's a tough one. But then again, you know, so many people are releasing albums during this time, and some of them are working for them, and some of them, you know, not as much as they thought. So yeah, it's a very confusing time for musos to keep relevant, or you know, to which steps to take with what's going on. So it makes it a little bit harder than you would think, I'd say.
Yeah. So if lockdown was to finish, or if the pandemic suddenly disappeared tomorrow, what would the plan be for Aaron Schembri for the rest of the year and into next year?
Oh, we can only hope that'll happen, Greg. We had because I was going to do I'm still going to do the Eagle Rock 50th anniversary tour with Ross. And that kind of all changed, obviously. But Ross was kind enough to say, you know, hey, do you want to do the support spot for it as well? So, you know, I was like, yeah, absolutely. You know, I get to play songs of mine. So, yeah, if lockdown just disappeared, hopefully we can go and do that tour, you know. And, yeah, everything's so up in the air at the moment. So let's hope that things get back to normal.
Well, in the meantime, the Lockdown Sessions is out now. Aaron Schembri, it's been great to catch up.
You're a champion, mate. Thank you very much.